Hey, what's up guys, it's Apollo Uchiha here, back with another part of What If Naruto Was the 5th Hokage. If you haven't, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And yesterday I uploaded the next part of What If Naruto, A Mother's Love. If you haven't checked that out, please check that out as well. And yeah, let's continue our story. Jiraiya walked through the halls of the hospital looking for one person. His intent on finding her was about as strong as she was. The reason he wanted to see her is because of the hospital policy, which he wanted to talk about. He was intent on finding Tsunade Senju, the head medic of ninja and chief of medical and surgery. Normally he waited a few days more to see her about this kind of situation, but this time it was of the utmost importance to him. She was now a part of the medical staff, and not just any part, but the head of it. Naruto had commissioned her just the other day during the meeting where the civilian council had finally said why they were so busy. Now that he thought about it, they had a point, a bit of it. But he had to side with the ninja view of things on this matter. He was biased and he just didn't care. If there weren't any ninjas around, then no training, protecting, or spying could be done, which meant that this village wouldn't be around anymore. And while on that fact, if it weren't for two ninja clans coming together at the ninja war era, then the whole village wouldn't exist. So there. That proved the point that ninja were more important than civilians, in his point of view. Jiraiya sighed as he walked further into the hospital. He had always had these things to be done. They were like just saying, don't worry, you're just in a giant place where people are slowly dying around you. So get comfortable because your ass is gonna be here for a while. And if that wasn't bad enough, these places had the N wards. Not that the racist bastards. We love people from Kumo. He was talking about the needles. Those disturbing, disgusting things with their impaling and penetrating. He'd be sure to make a lewd comment about that later. But right now he was needle hating. So Tsunade-sama, what is your diagnosis? A voice was heard behind the door Jiraiya had just walked by. Did it say Tsunade? I've never seen a case like that kid's before. There's just so much emo in him that it's ridiculous. He doesn't know any emotion except for anger and contempt. I'd smack him if I thought it'll help. He heard Tsunade's voice. He turned around and looked at the door. On it was a flag that read, Tsunade Senju, head of staff and chief medic ninja. He smacked himself for not having noticed that at all. Tsunade-sama, what's with that smile? Why are you so happy? Shoya raised an brow at that. Was that Shizune's voice and tauntaun oink of agreement? I don't know. I just feel like some idiot I know has finally had a realization about just how stupid they are. Tsunade's voice drifted out as Jiraiya grew an annoyed look, but then remembered why he was there. He pressed his ear against the door. So what about this boy, Tsunade-sama? Shizune asked as Tsunade hummed it over, meaning she was in thought. I name it. And for there, we'll have to find a cure. Tsunade said as Jiraiya shook his head. The poor sap was being made a test monkey for Tsunade. What will we call it? I got it. Little fat bitch, pansy ass sissy syndrome. Tsunade said as Jiraiya had to use a silencing seal on himself just to laugh. The two other who were in the room with Tsunade laughed loud and long just as Jiraiya did, but then their laughter died down in a snort of awkward silence. You're not serious, are you, Tsunade-sama? Shizune asked as Jiraiya couldn't just imagine the look on Tsunade's face that was given to her subordinates. Yup, I sure am, Tsunade said in her mock southern fire country drawl. Okay, Sasuke Uchiha is now diagnosed with little fat bitch pansy ass sissy syndrome. Oh my god, why are you doing this, Tsunade-sama? Shizune asked after she had tortured herself through the name. Jiraiya could tell Shizune's face was red and that Tsunade was probably smirking up a storm. Two reasons. One, cause it'll probably get the kid to be a damn kid instead of an emo Avenger. In fact, I'll diagnose the Hyuga and the Aburame with it next to get them to stop being so strict and creepy. The other reason? She asked Tsunade. Cause the top cock around here finally I get to rub it in their faces of the old fossils. Finally my plans to have a team of medic ninja and one medic ninja on every team will be in effect. I'm head bitch now. Tsunade said as Jiraiya backed away from the door, hearing thunder and lightning as she laughed maniacally. Tsunade-sama, you still have to have it approved by Naruto-sama first. Plus, if he shoots it down, don't rain on my parade, Shizune. I'm having a good day now, and I don't need your cynicism. Besides, he can be persuaded by the right forces, Tsunade said as Jiraiya pressed his ear closer to the door, wiping out his notepad and pen, writing feverishly. This would make the perfect scene he had been having trouble writing. Two magic ninjas seducing their younger superior to win his favor, and his children. Perfect. Suddenly, he was on the floor due to the door not being in support any longer. He looked up and saw, greeted with a sight that he loved to see, the panties of a pure and innocent nurse. Oh yes, that one scene was going in the book. Kakashi was gonna bow down and pray to him for this one. Pervert! The nurse cried out as she stormed his kunai and smoke bombs. Though those weren't really the items she had stormed, she still crushed them as well. Oh well, it was worth it. I thought I smelt a toad nearby, Tsunade said as she moved to look at Jiraiya. He was up in a flash as he stared at her. The very skimpy nurse outfit and lab coat making her look far more sexy than annoying. Thanks the heavens for this sight, Jiraiya screamed as he bowed down and started chanting that he wasn't worthy of what was before him. Tsunade gave him a look as she looked over to the mirror in her office. She struck a pose as she thought about just how sexy she looked. But then she started to glaring at Jiraiya. You can't look all you want, but don't touch, you pervert old tadpole, Tsunade said as she walked back around her desk and sat behind it. I must admit though, at first I was against this thing. When Naruto told me it was now hospital's policy and I was to follow, but now that I think about it, I've become the wet dream of every male, and even some females in this place when I walk around. Tsunade said with a smirk as Jiraiya thought to treat Naruto to as much ramen as the boy could eat for this one heavenly act. Though he was elated on the outfit, it wasn't the only part of the hospital's policy he had come to see her for. Sighing and putting away his notes, he gave Tsunade a serious look. Tsunade, seeing his serious face, motioned Shizune to shut the door as Jiraiya sat in the chair in front of her desk. What is it, Jiraiya? Normally if you see me like this, you're a perv for a bit longer. Something is the matter, right? Tsunade asked as Jiraiya nodded. You sensed it too, right? Didn't you? The strange chakra that entered the village an hour ago. It feels like old man Onaki's, doesn't it? Jiraiya said, his serious tone making Shizune uneasy as she stood by the door. Tonton clutched in her arms while Tsunade nodded. Yes, it does. But you don't think the old fart is hopping around, do you? From my sensory ability, it felt like it's in the air. Plus, last I heard the old man was still Tsuchikage, Tsunade said as she produced some sake for behind her desk. I know my spies just sent me a message and passed too. The old man is planning something big. From the looks of it, it involves a bunch of cannon from his village. And really, Tsunade, having a drinking sake while in hospital? Naruto will surely chew your ear off of that. Jiraiya said with a small smirk as Tsunade narrowed her eyes, but then sat back sipping her sake with a smirk on her own. If you don't rat me out, then I'll share with you, especially when you're stuck in here yourself, Tsunade offered as she gave him a saucer and poured some into it. Then my lips are sealed. Huh, Jiraiya said as he unintendedly joked. Him a sealing master. Me a sealing master. I bet the Sarutobi sensei still doesn't see that one coming. Huh. Jiraiya said as Tsunade nodded. Yeah, you were the dead last in the academy, but you had talent. Just not the talent that blossomed in the classroom. So what are we gonna do about this weird chakra? Tsunade said as Jiraiya sighed. Not sure, but I know that Naruto will need to be made aware of it, if he isn't already. I'll call for an Anbu team to come with me, but I have another question, Jiraiya said as Tsunade looked at him. Did you sense that other chakra as well? It wasn't as flashy as the other one that is circling, but it's hidden itself in another chakra, Jiraiya said with narrowed eyes. Tsunade crossed her arms and nodded. Yeah, I know. It feels almost like the old bat from the Suna. What was her name again? Ah, Chio. It's not as powerful as hers, but still as deadly and well controlled. If I hadn't been seeking out chakras to find that Lee boy, I wouldn't have noticed it, or the one like the old fence-sitter. Though this one is hidden within another body, it almost feels like the abomination of a jutsu Orochimaru used to use back in our Jonin days. Tsunade said as Jiraiya got back up and walked towards the door. Can you fight? Jiraiya asked, not bothering to turn to Tsunade as he rested his hands on the doorknob. Which will you take on, if I can? Tsunade asked, not bothering for her to look up at Jiraiya as she toyed with her saucer and playing with its contents. The puppet one. Naruto and the others can switch when we draw them close enough. Just like the old times, Jiraiya said, and though he wasn't facing her, they mirrored a grin and said everything. Just like old times, eh? Do you engage first? I knock him down. If only Orochimaru wasn't a pedophile and a demented asshole, then he could knock him up back and we could start the process all over again. Tsunade said as Jiraiya let out a bark of laughter. Yeah, just like the old times, he said as he walked out of the door. Deep in thought over what would happen next. Link break with Naruto. In his office, the Jonin and high-ranking ninjas of the village lined the walls. All of them had come not 3 minutes after they were called, except for Kakashi, who had arrived the very next second they were called. Naruto had to snicker at that. They had got a lot of things done. So, we're gathered here today to join this Nara and this Aburame in holy. Naruto began but was interrupted by Kurenai who had stepped forward to address him. Anko and the others were snickering, except Kai who was muttering about the powers of springtime youth. Hokage-sama, that's not why we're here, right? Kurenai said with a sigh as Naruto looked at her. Then why are we here again? Naruto said as Shino and Shikamaru stood in front of his desk. I don't know, Hokage-sama, but that's not the reason. Kurenai replied as she stepped back into the line. Naruto looked down at his desk and then remembered why he had called both of them into his office after chatting with the he meant Kiba, not that lovable dog Akamaru. Alright, we're here today to honor one of the wishes of the old man, the third Hokage. Naruto said as he got serious. He sighed as he continued on. Now to be quite honest with you guys, I don't know what to do. As you know, with that invasion and the final exam being suspended, it was the opinion of many that none of the students would pass this time around, and that includes you two as well. Naruto said, his left elbow resting on the desk and his chin resting on the palm of his left hand. Shino and Shikamaru fidgeted slightly under the lazy yet still gaze of the ruler they had grown up with. However, I know for a fact that the third held both of you in high regards, and I heard that he had nothing but the highest praise for your match, Shikamaru, Naruto said as he grabbed the ink brush that was in the ink tray at the corner of his desk and began writing in a blank scroll. He meant to recommend both of you for tuning, mainly you, Shika. In fact, all those that observed the fight and your proctors felt the same as the old man did, both in and out of the exams. The two of you have well done. And so is the case, my opinion of the two of you. Being lazy and weird doesn't really matter, Naruto said as he looked up at them, a small grin on his face as they looked annoyed, yet were grinning back at him. From this day forth, I hope that you will strive to achieve a level of excellence worth of those headbands. Congratulations of this moment. The both of you stand as Chunin, Naruto said as the room was filled with light applause. Now I hereby award both of you with a immensely practical and sexy jacket, Naruto said as Asuma and Kurenai had the two their Chunin vest. Anko snickered as the two bowed and walked out of the room. The others stared in shock at what was written on the back of the two jackets as the boys walked out. Naruto-sama, you can't just do that, Kurenai said as Naruto gave her a look and snickered as he went back to looking at the words painted in bright neon pink on the backs of their jackets. What does that say? Genma asked Ado as they read the backs. The Nara says I'm a lazy ass, so wait until I'm asleep to rape me. And the Aburama says I have a bug fetish, want to see my earthworms? Damn, I love our Hokage's works, Ado said as Genma nodded with a chuckle. Ah, you can't beat the classics, Naruto said as he wiped away a tear. Hokage-sama, that was highly inappropriate. You can't just do things like... Kurenai began until Naruto gave her a look. Kurenai, would you like to spend a year with Anko and Ipiki as a guest in their lovely little department? Naruto asked lazily as she looked at him fearfully. No, Naruto-sama, I wouldn't. Then don't ever tell me anything like that again, or else, now all of you, get out. I have work to do, and just because of all of you got a day off by accident doesn't mean you'll get another for a while, Naruto said as he waved his hand dismissing all of them back to whatever they were doing. He then summoned 3 clones, and had them deal with these tasks for the day while he ate ramen. Link break. It's good to be the Hokage, Naruto said with a comfortable sigh as he suddenly cut his vision towards a corner. Don't you agree, perfect sage? Naruto asked as said man came from the shadow with a grin on his face. I was hoping you won't have to notice me. How did you? Jiraiya asked as he came to sit in front of Naruto's desk. Naruto simply shrugged as he continued to eat his noodles. I've been around you for a few months, so I know your chakra, suppressed or not, like the back of my hand. I know Orochimaru is because it's so dark and foul. It's like a smoke in the clear air. I know Gran is due to the fact that it's so controlled and suppressed most of the time. It's the most controlled chakra I've ever felt. Naruto explained as Jiraiya nodded and reached into his shirt, tossing a yellow folder onto Naruto's desk. Naruto sighed as he sat aside his ramen and opened the folder. What is this? Naruto asked as he pulled out documents and files. It's basically what my spies have collected over the week. If I'm not here, then the Anbu will come to you with this stuff. So I want you to be familiar with it. Jiraiya said as Naruto scanned the papers with critical eyes, looking over every word with extreme care. Is this true? It can't be right. Naruto asked, not looking up from the papers as he handed one back to Jiraiya. Yup, Iwa is planning some form of attack, in my opinion, in the next 2 months. It'll be small scale compared to the most of the things they tried in the past. They won't try anything larger due to the agreement Minato and the old man Oniki had back in the Third War. Jiraiya sat as Naruto sighed and leaned back into his chair. So, what'll they do? What's this agreement? And who's old man Oniki? Naruto asked as he rubbed his temple. Why were everyone and their aunt Susan attacking his village? Well, old man Oniki is the third Tsuchikage and one heck of a powerhouse. He may be stubborn old midget, but he's got the power to back up his flapping gums. He is the legendary fence sitter or Oniki of both skills, and holder of the legendary dust release bloodline. As for the agreement, it was when your dad was destroying Rock Ninja left and right with that jutsu, the old man had to call off the war on Konoha, but Minato didn't want just that, no. Minato went all the way to Iwagakure and stuck his seal all over the village. He then got in front of the old man Oniki and told him point blank that if he ever attacked Konoha again, that he'll slaughter the old man's entire village, save the civilians. That's basically the real reason that Iwa hates Konoha so much. They despise the fact that some of Minato's seals may still be there, and that will train another ninja to use that jutsu. Jiraiya said as he leaned back. Naruto raised a brow, which Jiraiya knew to be a basic sign of the kid gaping like a fish. Would my dad have really done something so barbaric? Naruto asked as Jiraiya shrugged. Times were much different 20 years ago, Naruto. Nowadays, you kids can go around with honor, dignity, and fight in the middle of a daylight. But back when I and your dad were age or older, when we had to take every advantage there was, those were the days that we were true ninjas instead of the days brawling fighters. Jiraiya said with slow pace and thinking, as Naruto stifled a chuckle. So, what are they gonna do with my village? Naruto asked as he summoned an Anbu. Tora bowed as he waited for his orders. Don't worry about that now. There are more immediate threats. Jiraiya said, his face growing serious as Naruto nodded solemnly. So you sensed it too, sensei? Naruto asked as he leaned forward, while Jiraiya nodded. Not just me, but Tsunade as well. I'm not sure how many others have sensed it as well, but it's safe to say that only a handful of us can take care of these opponents. Jiraiya said with a serious look on his face while Naruto nodded. I sensed 2 chakras that were far stronger than any in this village, aside from ours. Naruto stated as Jiraiya and he looked towards Tora. Ah, it's good to see you, Tora. How you been holding up? Jiraiya asked as the Tora-masked Anbu scratched the back of his head nervously. I've been fine, Jiraiya-sama. Tenzo said as Naruto raised an eyebrow. You know each other, don't you? And your name is Tenzo. You look more like Yamato. Naruto said as he gazed back and forth between the two. Yeah, you can say we know each other. He was one of the kids that Orochimaru experimented on when he found that criminals and prisoners were unbearing, Jiraiya said, showing only the slightest bit of sadness in his voice. As for Tenzo part, that's his code name. You didn't know? What kind of Hokage are you, Brad? Jiraiya said, only to receive a paperweight to the face. I'm new at this, you shameless perv. Excuse me for not knowing every single thing right now while I've been trying to deal with all these happenings in my village, Naruto said as Jiraiya clutched at his nose. Anyways, these chakra signatures in the village, I'm sure they're Akatsuki, Jiraiya said, scratching his nose. Suddenly, Tenzo had shot up and Naruto remained calm. I figured as much, but what bothers me is that they showed up as if they knew I was Hokage or something. Naruto said calmly as Jiraiya nodded. We can only assume that they do. We can also assume that the other great ninja villages do as well. It would stand to reason with Eva sudden want to attack and why the sand is moving so quickly to meet with you. Really now? Naruto asked with a raised brow as Jiraiya nodded. Yeah. They plan to set up another alliance between our two villages. They'll be here by the end of the month. Okay, so about this Akatsuki threat that invading my village. Actually, I'm a bit surprised that they made it past the Konoha sensory barrier team. They couldn't have known how to move past it, like Itachi did, because only elite Anbu of our village know how to do that. Jiraiya said in thought as Naruto left eye twitched. Konoha barrier? Naruto asked as Jiraiya blinked at him. Yeah, you know the barrier sphere that covers the entire village above and below the ground in a complete barrier? It's really difficult to get past it because the thing senses anything and everything that moves past it that has chakra in any form. Tachi got past it by using information on it, which was the fact that the barrier stops to witch out at high noon. These two Akatsuki, however, couldn't have possibly known that, especially since Itachi attacked. They started switching out at midnight instead. Jiraiya said as a vein in the high right corner of Naruto's forehead began to pulse and throb intensely. They are so fired. Literally. Naruto muttered as he stood up. I'm sure you and Granny have some form of plan to deal with them. So just tell me, Naruto said as he placed his Kage hat on the desk. Yes, we do. Listen, me and Tsunade can fight the one above the village. But you might be able to with your dad's jutsu and the others you learned while we were tracking Tsunade. Do you think you can? Jiraiya assessed. Naruto nodded. Yeah, but they don't seem to be moving in just yet. They're probably waiting until nightfall. I'll take Tenzo with me, while you and Granny handle the one that on the north wall. Naruto said as Jiraiya nodded and disappeared in a plump of smoke. Naruto turned to Tenzo with a thoughtful look on his face as the Anbu fidgeted a bit. Tenzo's a code name, right? Yes, Hokage-sama. And I, as Hokage, change it anytime I want, right? Yes, Naruto-sama. Then from this moment on, your name is Yamato, Naruto said as he pointed dramatically at the man, while the latter sweat dropped at him. Yes, Hokage-sama. Let's go, Yamato, and switch into a Jonin uniform. I need to go see Iruka-sensei, Naruto said, turning on his heel and walking away as the Anbu that were still in the shadow snickered at 10 Yamato. Better get going, Yamato. A female Anbu snickered out as Yamato glared at her directly. Shut up, he muttered as he hung his head and followed after his Hokage, link break with Sasuke. He sat at the table of his home in complete silence. He didn't really know what to do. What could he do? He could go to Orochimaru for power that he was promised. But if he did that, then he'd end up just like Naruto's vision. He could still remember Naruto doing his impression of Itachi. To unlock the Mangekyo Sharingan, you must experience major emotional trauma, like killing the person who is the most precious to you, your best friend or your brother. Naruto had explained that by him having killed Itachi, he got the Mangekyo, but at what cost? His brother had been the good guy all along, and his clan was the bad guys. To have revolted and planned against the village was something that would have caused so much trouble that no one would have survived. Was Itachi really the good guy instead of the evil asshole he had seemed and believed? Of course he was. But should that stop him from killing Itachi, the only family he had left besides this Madara character? Speaking of Madara, everything was this bastard's fault apparently. This bastard had left the clan, only to come back and kill it. But he didn't and helped train Itachi to do it for him. Then Itachi had to leave, with his help wish being that his little brother never being told the truth. Well, that was stupid. I'm gonna murder Itachi, Sasuke muttered to himself as he glared at the table. I have a right to the truth. I should have been told the truth from the beginning. And if you had, a voice said as Sasuke didn't even bother with it since he knew Naruto had Anbu watching him. Hell, if he were Naruto and Kami, how bad did that sound? He'd have Anbu watching him too. Things could be different from what Naruto said of the future. Sasuke said, still glaring at the table, while Bormaster Anbu dropped to his side and sat on the table. Why can't there be different now, Uchiha? They will be. But I'm saying that the future that Naruto saw could have been different as well. So what are you going to do? Kill your brother? Go to Orochimaru for power? Or are you going to stay and make things right? I don't know. I still hate Itachi for killing our clan. But I also hate our clan for wanting to revolt. Loyalty is key, and yet loyalty was put over family's life. Everything I knew to be true is falling around me as lies. I hate the council for ordering my clan's death, but they did it after the peaceful way was disbanded by my father. My own father wanted to revolt against this village, even after he would tell me to be loyal to it, no matter what. What's the meaning of this? Sasuke screamed out as he clutched at his head and dribbled out on the floor, slowly going out of his mind as it shattered and rebuilt itself. Your friends, for one, and don't give me that bullshit about how they aren't your friends because I know they are. Don't you know that after your clan was eliminated, I was assigned to watch over you daily alongside the previous boar? Board said conversationally as Sasuke sat up. No, I didn't. Sasuke said, stating it as if he wanted her to get straight to the point. Well, it's just that while I watched you, I saw everything, even that which you didn't show others. I know more about you than most people. I know that you hate when women and girls either try to mother you or get you on the date. I know Naruto was your first ever true friend because he didn't care that your clan was killed or that you were the last Uchiha, but still treated you like a real person and not some kind of a fairy tale. I know that you and him as kids used to play with the Nara boy and the Aburama boy. I know that as you grew older, you thought more and more about the death of your family and how you came to hate Itachi, she said as she crossed her legs while Sasuke simply stared at her. I know that you secretly cried at night because you wake up from nightmares about Itachi coming back and killing Naruto. I know that you started to act cold and indifferent towards Naruto to drive him away so Itachi wouldn't come back and kill him. I know that you started to do this to everyone to shut them out because of the same fear. I know that it didn't work on Naruto and you started thinking him as an idiot for still being around you. I know that when the academy started that you put every waking moment into training so that you could kill Itachi and one day have friends and family. I know that at the end your first year of the academy, you came home and wrote down your life plan. I know that it consisted of killing Itachi, adopting Naruto as your new cooler brother, having an average wife who wouldn't fawn over you, having two kids and becoming an Anbu captain. I know that. I get it. You know my entire public and private life story. Is there a point? Sasuke shouted as Boar didn't even move at this shout. The point is that I know you and the true Sasuke has already made up his mind about what he has to do. So what are you gonna do now? I don't know, and you don't know me. Oh, but I do. I know that your very first crush was on Naruto because you thought he was a tomboy. The first few weeks you knew him, due to him having uncut hair and a thin figure. She started cheekily as Sasuke glared at her, his cheeks slightly red. That will never leave this room. He growled out as she chuckled lightly. Sure thing, kid. Now again I ask, what are you going to do? First, I'm gonna kick Itachi's ass, get this curse mark off of me, then I'm gonna make that family always wanted, and get some goddamn rice balls and dried tuna and tomatoes. Good, Brad. Boar said as she sweat dropped and got off the table. She began walking towards the shadow corner of the room. And remember, if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm always here. She finished as she walked into the shadows, but right before she stepped into them, he called out to her. Wait, what's your name? Sasuke asked as she tapped the bottom of her mask as if it were her chin. You can call me Inoshi. See you later, kid, and remember what I said, she said, finally disappearing as if she never was there. She knew she'd have to answer to Naruto about her actions, but maybe it was worth it. Yeah, remember, stalker, Sasuke said, knowing now that he had an ear to always hear his cries. She giggled to herself as she resumed her position to watch him. Should she have motivated that she also knew that he still had a small crush on Naruto? Nah, she could use that for blackmail material. Link break with Anko, Kurenai, Asuma and the other Kanis. They had all gone to Yakiniku the favorite Korean Gyukaku style Yukiniku restaurant of the team Asuma. The restaurant is large with wide windows, multiple green seated booths, though some tables allow customers to sit down on the floor with green cushions as their seats. Menu plastered on the wall, and due to their Gyukaku style, each table was a charcoal basin built in the center and is equipped with for cooking. Since the Gyukaku form of dining is when the customers cook their own food after they ordered the food raw, Anko, Ino, and Choji were laughing aloud. Purnai, Asuma, and Hinata were chuckling as they sat back while Kiba crossed his arm and crumbled underneath his breath. Shikamaru was getting annoyed while Shino took it in stride as they both had finally got the pink message off their backs. Damn it, don't laugh! Shikamaru ground out as he placed his head in his hand, refusing to meet the eyes of others. What's wrong? Finding it too troublesome to be raped in your sleep? Anko said as Kurenai smacked her arm playfully. Anko! Kurenai astonished as Anko continued to snicker. I'm just glad it wasn't permanent, Shino stated blankly with a slight blush as everyone laughed at their mere thought. I'm just glad those old ladies stopped hitting you two and calling you perverts and freaks, Hinata said quietly, yet they had yet their heads were down and as they heard her and laughed more as Kiba slammed his hand on the table in annoyance. Man, it's not fair. How come you two got promoted and not any of us? Kiba shouted at his corner ground. Kiba, you lost to Hokage-sama in the preliminaries. Be glad to can say that Akage beat you, Kurenai said as Anko snickered at the dog boy. Yeah, besides these two helped out in the invasion and went beyond what they had. Shino defeated the puppet kid and Kurenai said that Shikamaru helped stall an entire squad of ninja of sounds from killing Naruto-sama and his teammates. Anko said cheekily as Kiba banged his head on the table. Ino and the other Genin looked at Shikamaru and Shino in awe as the two looked away slightly. Ino broke out into giggling with Choji chuckling heartily. Damn it, don't laugh, Shikamaru said half-heartedly under his breath. We can't help it. Now all of a sudden, even you seem respectable, Shika, Ino said as Hinata blushed and hid her own giggles at Ino's statement. Alright, that's enough picking on them. Anyways, let's celebrate their promotions like we came here to do, Asuma said as he raised his glass. The others did the same except for Choji, Anko and Kiba who took over half of the meat from the grills. Choji, Kiba, don't eat now. We're about to make a toast, Ino scolded as the two had already stuffed their mouths while Hinata and Kurenai nodded to her words. Kurenai rounded on Anko who was stuffing the last piece of meat into hers. You as well, Anko. You should set a better example for these kids, Kurenai chastised as Anko swallowed her food and gave a grin. Why don't you do so by sticking your tongue down Asuma-kun's throat and Kurenai-chan? After all, these two are going to need lessons to bag Hokage-sama, Anko said sheepishly as she gestured to Ino and Hinata. Asuma, who was drinking anyway, spit it out all over Kurenai, who had been sitting across from him. Kurenai gave a deadpan look as she wiped the drink from herself, while she, Hinata, and Ino were blushing. Cheers, Asuma offered weakly as he held up his glass and everyone toasted. Cheers, they all said just as weakly as they toasted glasses while Anko sat back and snickered. Her work there had been done. Link break. Later with Naruto and Iruka. That seems like a lot of scrolls, Naruto. Are you sure you'll need them all now? Iruka said as Naruto clones were walking out of the Konoha Ninja archive with a scroll each. Naruto glanced at Iruka who was beside him as he nodded and continued to direct his clones. Yeah, Iruka-sensei, I've only got the bare basics down for my elemental chakras and just about everything else. The only things I have mastered are seals. I still need a lot of help with everything else. Jiraiya-sensei told me about a private training ground reserved for the Hokage only. So tomorrow I'll be there while a clone is helping you hand out missions. Naruto said as Iruka nodded in understanding. Right, and that reminds me, why weren't you at the mission hall today? I waited over an hour for you to show up and unlock it. Then a notebook comes out of nowhere telling me you won't be showing up. What happened? Oh, well, I was dealing with meetings all the day. But don't worry, things will calm down after today. At least, I hope so. Naruto said as the last of his clones left the building, him and Iruka right after them. Oh, what else gonna happen today, Naruto? Iruka asked as Naruto frowned in deep thought. Iruka was almost taken back by the sudden action. Naruto had very rarely frowned, and when he did, it was so openly as all hell was gonna break loose. Iruka sensei, I want you to tell the head of the academy to send all the students and staff home for early today. Understood? Naruto said with a serious edge in his voice. Yes, Hokage-sama. Iruka said as Naruto waved his hand, dismissing immediately. Iruka nodded quickly and disappeared to do the task. Whatever was about to happen was enough to worry Naruto, and that was more than enough to worry him. Genma, Ado, Naruto shouted into the air as he walked down the street. The two ninjas suddenly appeared at the street. Send out the message to every ninja of every rank to get the civilians off the street. I want all those who are not of ninja rank in their homes in less than 20 minutes. Yes, Hokage-sama, the two said as they saluted and jumped up to do what they were told. Izumu, Kotetsu, Hokage-sama, the two said as they appeared before him. I want an alert to every Jonin and Nanbu within the village. Tell them that they are to safeguard the villagers and take up defensive points to do so. I don't care how they do it or get it done. But if I hear even one civilian casualty, Naruto said, leaving the threat hanging. Kotetsu and Izumu nodded as they leapt off the ground and spread the word. They were getting tired of being errand boys. Yamato, Naruto shouted as the aforementioned man leapt behind him. Hokage-sama. Yamato asked, dressed in a full jonin, grabbed aside from his Konoha headband that was more like a face guard. You're with me for this one. I had a clone in my office ready for the job. I'm impressed. If things get too out of hand, then I'll need you, Naruto said as Yamato blushed from the praise and faith Naruto had in him. Yes, Hokage-sama, I wait your orders. Let's get going. The night is already upon us, Naruto said as he walked towards the Hokage mansion, Yamato trailing right behind him. Naruto glanced at the nighttime sky with narrowed eyes. He could already see an unusual bird in the sky circling over the village. Link break. This sorcery. He linked to the Deidara through a communicator. He slinked out of an alley with practiced stealth. Glancing around, he could see that no one was on the street or in their businesses. It seems as if everyone had a curfew. Of course they would. They did just have an invasion a short time ago. Sasori said aloud to himself from inside his Huriko. He continued to slink away towards training ground 7, completely unaware of the two figures watching him, now or later. Tsunade said from atop the building Jiraiya was standing on the side of. Later, he's going to one of the training grounds, so we'll fight him there so we don't endanger anyone. You heard that, Izumu? Jiraiya replied with a slight grin. Yeah, that kid seems like he'll enjoy punishing people. It's like a big prank that he can get away with without questioning. Tsunade said as she and Jiraiya jumped into the sky and continued to trail Sasori. Though all of them were unaware of the girl who had spotted all of them, Sakura watched as Tsunade and Jiraiya leapt after the hunch-over figure. Whatever was gonna happen, she was gonna find out. Link break with Deidara. He had his bird high over the village as he used his scope to watch the Hokage in his office. It seemed as though the guy was pretty busy. He was stuck behind his desk doing paper like any other Kage would. Deidara almost felt sorry for the kid. Being 13-year-old and having to deal with this kind of enemy was inhumane. Oh well, perhaps if Kakazu wasn't going to kill you, I could have brightened up your day by showing you some true art. Yeah, Deidara saw that boy yawn and leaving his desk. He saw the lights of the office go off as the kid was obviously going to bed like the rest of the village. Apparently, the village was on a curfew, but that's to be expected. Orochimaru did invade them just about 2 months ago. Looks like they recovered well, but they probably still have a ways to go. Oh well, Deidara said as he formed a handstand. Take me down, he said as his bird flew on his command. He jumped off and landed on the rooftop of the mansion. No one was on site. If he was gonna spy on the Hokage boy, then why not get some Konoha's secrets in the meantime? Infiltration complete and successful? Yeah, Deidara said, but then his eyes widened as he dropped to his knees, a heavy pressure in the air as if someone had put some weight on the air itself. I think not, came a cold yet firm voice. Deidara lifted his head. The voice sounded much younger than it should for someone with such power and chakra. Deidara looked up and saw that it was the boy like the one in the office, yet this one was dressed like a noble samurai. He even had a sword at his side. Right behind the boy was a Konoha Jonin that was wearing a face guard for a Konoha headband. I'm not getting out of here easy, am I? The other asked with a grin working on his face. Perhaps he would get the chance to show this kid and all Konoha is hard. You're not getting out of here alive, Naruto stated as he slowly began to draw his sword. Link break with Sasori. He was faced with a problem, and not just any problem, two of the legendary Sanin. Now he may have killed the Kage, but these two would be trouble. I don't suppose you let me go, Sasori said. After all, their jobs was spying, not combat. Sorry, but you crashed our party, Jiraiya said as he gathered his chakra. So you're gonna crash your face. Tsunade finished as she punched her open palm. Chakra already appeared. Sasori gazed at the two of them from within Hiroki. He sighed as he readied his puppet weapons. If there was no way out of it, then prepare to add to my collection, told Sage Slug Princess. Sasori said as he made Hiroki's tail come forth. All opponents locked eyes and they began. The battle were on, but who would be the victors? As this is where I'm going to be leaving this part of, guys. I hope you like this one, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And this is Apollo Uchiha, and I'm signing out. Peace.